Hi, I'm Shawn, the air quality guy. Today we're back at our display and we're going to talk about mold remediation. As you can see in our mock-up, we have some visible staining. During the remediation process, this visible staining would be sanded and encapsulated. That process would aerosolize quite a lot of mold spores. Of course, we would be in our containment. However, to monitor the number of mold spores that have been aerosolized, we typically use an aerosol cassette. An aerosol cassette is run through a rotary vane pump that has been calibrated to 15 liters. 15 liters for 5 minutes exactly creates 75 liters. We then take the number of spores that have been trapped in that 75 liter sample and we extrapolate to colony forming units per cubic meter. Here we see a rotary vane pump. It has a rotometer that we're going to use to calibrate exactly to 15 liters. If we're not pulling 15 liters through the pump, then our data is skewed and it's worthless. So once again, we turn on the pump and you see we've calibrated this pump to 15 liters per minute. Times 5 minutes gives us 75 liters exactly. This is an aerosol cassette. The cassette is equipped with a venturi at the top and an area for a hose at the bottom. The hose is attached to the pump and the pump draws air through into the venturi. Mold spores are trapped within inside the venturi and ultimately sent to the laboratory for analysis. This can tell us species, genus, and the number of colony forming units per cubic meter once we've extrapolated from 75 liters. Once again, the problem arises if the pump is not calibrated or timed absolutely correctly. This is a swab. A swab is used to take a bulk sample. The bulk sample would be used to determine if in fact the visible staining I see on my assembly is mold. You simply open the swab, rub it in a 10 square centimeter along the visible staining, reinsert the swab into the agar, and itemize or indicate where you have taken the sample from. This does not tell you what is aerosolized, it simply tells you, is this visible staining mold or not, and what type of mold is it? This is a tape lift. A tape lift is used to determine what type of mold spores are trapped within household dust. You take the tape lift, you locate where the tape lift was from, you pull off the plate, and you dip the tape lift into household dust. This is then sent to a laboratory for analysis. Once again, it does not tell you how much mold spores are in the air. You're just looking for settled spores in conventional house dust. Today we have discussed 3 methods of sampling for mold: aerosol cassette, swab, and tape lift. All samples are important, however, the aerosol cassette is used primarily for determining how many spores are in the air following remediation. It is important that you have a third-party consultant do all your sampling to ensure that your contractor is performing his duties diligently. It is never advised to have the contractor pull your own samples. Here we have a plate with agar. Agar is food for mold. In this case, it is malt extract. You can buy this at any department store for $10 as a mold test kit. Here we have a plate of cheese, an organic plate of cheese. Both these things will give you the same amount of information regarding mold. An agar plate, without quantifying the volume of air blown over it, will produce mold, as will a plate of cheese. Mold is ubiquitous, so if I leave this agar plate out overnight, mold spores will passively land in it and they will grow. Cheese will do the same thing. The information this gives me is worthless. Mold is once again ubiquitous, that is to say, it is everywhere. Counting mold spores that land in an empty agar plate or counting mold spores that land on this plate of cheese give me no information whatsoever on determining the health of my environment. Once again, we have our agar plate. The agar plate provides no data whatsoever if it's left outside passively. However, the agar plate is used for cultural analysis of mold spores only when it is installed inside a device that controls airflow. The agar plate is placed inside an Anderson sampler. The sampler is hooked up to our rotary vane pump and calibrated once again exactly to 75 liters, and the plate cover is installed over it. This plate cover is filled with very small holes that control the airflow to evenly disperse airflow over top the plate. The plate is installed, the pump is turned on, we draw air through, and we can now calibrate and time exactly how many minutes of air were blown over our agar plate. This plate is then sent to a laboratory while refrigerated, and a week later you've grown something here which is under analysis for species and genus.